Jai Hind everyone. A few days back, every one of us was highly confused, amused when we came across the video of US President Trump and when he claimed that their government had spent millions of US dollars to influence elections in some country. Then we also came across a recent acknowledgement by Meta officials wherein they had acknowledged that money was being paid to suppress some kind of content and to encourage or enhance some type of content. Now, in Indian context, we have heard about various international pressure groups who are trying to destabilize the country's government. We have heard of the US deep state, we have heard of CIA, we have heard of the name of Soros, and we have heard of various such groups who have been involved in influencing the political destability in India or in many other countries. But today we will be talking about a network called the Singham network, a name that is basically a Bollywood type's name. But today we will talk about this network and we will see how China is behind such a network and China is trying to destabilize countries not just like India but also like US as well as the UK. So today we are going to talk about something that sounds like coming straight from a thriller, but it is real, it is documented and it is happening right now. Now this term Singham network, a name most probably you might not have heard, but this name has been under the watch of congressional investigators, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and all of these organizations have been tracking this name for over an year. This Singham network is so sophisticated that one federal prosecutor has called it undeniable that it is recognizing its role in organizing protests and civil unrest not just in developing countries but in countries across Europe, in various cities in America. And at the center of this all is a 71-year-old billionaire. A billionaire who lives in Shanghai, who sold one of his company for over 700 million US dollars, and then he decided to use this fortune not just to retire but to wage political warfares against United States. So when we go deep into it, let us understand what is the Singham network. Okay, now this Singham network, it is a transnational activity. It is basically a media funding network, and this is linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Now, this organization is being operated by an American born billionaire, Neville Roy Singham from Shanghai, who has his native roots from Sri Lanka. Okay. Now, this is not just a single guy who is writing checks to start political warfare. Now, the Congress investigators have described it as a multi-generational operation to destabilize US cities and the politics. The State Department has referred to it as the notorious Singham network. And it is not just about the US. This network has its root reaching deep into India as well as the United Kingdom. Now, the Enforcement Directorate in India is also investigating its link in the news click money laundering case, whereas in the United Kingdom, the authorities are allegedly looking into the Chinese linked protests that have been taking place. Now, when we look more about this man, Neville Roy Singham, Now, this man is a 71-year-old man. He was born in 1954. He studied economics at the Howard University. Okay. Moreover, then he had established a company called the ThoughtWorks in 1985. Okay. Now, this was basically an IT consulting firm. Okay. In 2017, he had sold this company for 785 million US dollar, and currently he is based in Shanghai, China. Okay. Now, this is where everything gets more interesting. Neville Roy Singham is reportedly referring himself to as China's American Mayo. Okay, so he has been calling himself a revolutionary. Okay, so just think of it like an American born billionaire who lives in China and calls himself as a Chinese version of Mayo. Okay, who is literally one of the history's most revolutionary figure. Okay, now he's not just alone. Okay, when we talk about his entire family, his wife Jodie Evans, she had established the company Code Pink. Now this Code Pink is an anti-war group. So this entire network is not just about a single man. It is a family affair, and we will, when we will deeply study into it, you will understand uh, how in an organizational manner, how in a well structured, mechanized manner they have been working. Okay. Now, when we move into the money trail, okay. Now, when we talk about money, okay, this is where the story gets very much concerning. According to a 2023 New York Times expose, it has been said that Neville Roy Singham has laundered over 250 million US dollars into a constellation of dark money organizations across the United States. There have been various other estimates who say that the money that has been funneled by him, okay, is anywhere close to 300 million. But the bigger question comes up is that how was he able to do it? Okay. Now, it was through a Goldman Sachs donor advised fund and the shell companies. Now, this money that was funneled was layered through shell entities. Okay. Now, why the shell entities were used in order to obscure the original source? Now, Goldman Sachs had terminated this fund in early 2024 after a public scrutiny. Okay. Now, a federal grand jury is also investigating an alleged financial crimes, including wire fraud, bank fraud, and money laundering cases. Okay. So, depending upon how you look at it, okay, Neville Roy Singham's money, okay, it flows through various non-profit channels. Okay. And it is the reason why there is no requirement to disclose the donors. Okay. The influx of this money is non-reportable, and they have set up various charities that which are not really doing anything specific, except they are just funding chaos. Okay. Or they are fueling chaos across the world. Okay. Now, first and foremost, who got the money? Okay, now when we talk about the US organization, so the biggest question comes up is that where did all this money go? So, if I have to give you a breakdown of this, okay, the People's Forum, okay, it received around 22 million US dollar in 5 years. Okay, then Tricontinental Institute for Social Research over 16 million. Okay, now Breakthrough News, okay, around 1 million, and Code Pink around 1.4 million. Okay. Now, when we talk about each of these organizations, this organization, People's Forum, okay, this organization is basically fueling the destructive protest and civil unrest from Los Angeles to Minneapolis. Okay, so we have seen that this organization, People's Forum, it has been linked to protest across the US. Okay, then when we talk about the Tricontinental, now they promote what they call national liberation Marxism. Okay, so they are the one promoting the communist ideology. Okay, next, the Breakthrough News. They produce what they call stories of resistance from working class communities. And lastly, the code wing that has been established by his wife. Okay, so you can understand that if you just observe all of these organizations, there is a pattern. Okay, you have got groups with vague names. Okay, you have UPS mailbox addresses and a unified mission to advance the propaganda of the Chinese Communist Party, and also everything has to be done while destabilizing the American cities. Okay, now when we have a look into it, it is a next generation family business. Okay, after his wife, okay, Jody Evans, we have Alicia Singham Goodwin. Okay, now 33-year-old Neville's niece. Okay, so she is the political director of Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. Okay, and recently she has been part of a campaign called Jews for Zohran. Now, this campaign was allegedly run to support the candidature of the Israeli critic Zohran Mamdani as New York's city mayor. Now, it was in July uh, last year. Okay, she laid out the strategy, and she was the one, okay, who had started drawing up this campaign, okay, wherein they mainly propagated Jews for Zohran. Okay, so they created a vehicle to launder anti-Israel politics as authentic Jewish grassroots support towards Zohran Mamdani. Moreover, it is again a form of sophisticated information warfare that has been led by her. Okay, and it is very prominently called the perception management that she carries forward. Okay, moreover, Alicia Singham Godwin's mother, okay, Shanti Singham, who is sister of Neville Singham, she holds a leadership position at the Chinese state-run East China Normal University and has been recently promoted Confucius Institutes. Okay, now these Confucius Institutes are the Chinese Communist Party's primary vehicle for spreading influence on American campuses. Clear? Moreover, we have also seen that these all relatives, they have been working different angles of the same strategic objective, and their objective is something what a multi-generational influential operation would look like. Okay, now when we move ahead, how essentially they work. Okay, so when we look at their working, okay, it is not an ideology, it is a calculated operation that are being conducted. Okay, so they are the ones, they target moments of maximum social friction. Okay, now what social friction they have been targeting? The immigration enforcement, police shootings, Israel Gaza. So they are the ones who have also been promoting anti-Israel marches, protests across the region. Okay, so they are the ones, they first target the actual areas of friction, and then they amplify them into sustained chaos. Okay, after this, okay, the organizations like People's Forum, they have been mobilizing agitators within hours of federal operations. Okay, next, their goal is to delegitimize, okay, and make governance impossible in that region. Clear? So this is how they have been working. And as one of the formal federal prosecutors has said, it is undeniable that these groups are coordinating repeated acts of criminal misconduct. Clear? So if we have to look into the chilling reality of this, okay, now in today's scenario, China does not need to invade Taiwan when America cannot control its own cities. Okay, and this is the reason why China has been able to dominate various much more powerful countries. Okay, now the bigger reason is the FARA gap. Okay, now this is the scandal within the scandal. Okay, so congressional investigators, they know about it. FBI had first investigated Singham in 1974 as he was then found to be engaged in activities which were going against the US interest. Okay, so you can see that this individual has been on radar for over 51 years. Okay, next, yet he has never registered his organizations under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Okay, why? Because he is beyond reach. Now he lives in China, and that is something that shields his accountability. Okay, so Congress cannot subpoena upon him. Okay, so we can understand that no sort of warrant or subpoena can be enforced essentially outsiders of the US borders. Okay, now living in China shields Singham from very accountability mechanism which is designed to expose the foreign influence operations taking place within the United States. Okay, now his global reach is not just limited to US. Okay, it has reached India as well as the United Kingdom. Clear? So in India, Singham is accused of spreading the Chinese propaganda through his funding network. Okay. Previously, the Delhi police has filed an FIR claiming ties to Chinese government media machinery. Okay, the Enforcement Directorate is investigating links to the NewsClick money laundering case allegedly, and it was found that these individuals have exchanged emails with senior Communist Party of India leader Prakash Karat, who was then also under the scanner. Okay, so it was in UK, US. Okay, and the countries have been jointly investigating their Chinese linked funding of the pro Palestine protests that have also been taking place. Clear? So we can see that these organizations have been pushing their propaganda, and they have been fueling the protest to destabilize the government structure. Okay. Next, if we talk about the global reach into the United Kingdom. Okay. So, the US Congressional Committee has investigated alleged Chinese linked funding of pro Palestine protest in the UK. Okay, so similar activities were also funded in India, investigating more than 3 lakh US dollar in alleged payments to a company tied to Code Pink. A UK company linked to Code Pink has received over $250,000 in 2020 and 21 from entities suspected of being parts of Singham's network. Okay, and same company has received another around a lakh of US dollars. Okay, now Code Pink has been found to be organizing protest outside the British Ministry of Defence and London offices of an arms manufacturer. Clear? Now, all of these things, okay, Neville Singham has denied everything. Now, he rejects that he has received payments or funds or instructions from any government or political party, including the Chinese Communist Party. Now, he claims that the New York Times intentionally chose not to publish his rebuttals, and he denies violating any Indian or US law. He says that ThoughtWorks never had Chinese government clients, and he denies knowledge or any relationship with Chinese telecom companies in India. Okay. But recently, it has also been seen that the House Oversight Committee, okay, they have documented Singham's organization's mix progressive advocacy with the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. Moreover, his connections are not just circumstantial. All of his connections have been documented. Okay, and the US Congress as well as the FBI have recorded all of these things. Okay, so bigger question: what this really means? Okay. Now, when we talk about what essentially does this mean, so the Singham network now reveals how modern influence operations are actually working. You do not need to steal any secret. You do not need to spy upon the secrets. You just need money, family networks, and people who are ready to work for you. Okay. Now, Neville Singham has been providing the cash. His sister has been promoting the institutes which are linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. Her husband has been working at the companies that are generating fortune. Okay. The niece of Neville Singham has been organizing the Jewish voters to support anti-Israel candidates. Okay, so we can see that if you bring together every piece. Each individual can claim that they are just pursuing their own political beliefs. But when you closely look into everything, you will find a coordinated operation designed to undermine the political situations in US, UK, as well as in India. But the beauty of this operation is deniability. Okay, there are no direct proofs, or they cannot be warranted to appear just because they have been living in China and they are getting full support of the Chinese. Okay, so we can closely understand that firstly there are allegations which are very serious and which are under investigation in the US, UK, as well as in India, but they do not they have not been able to establish themselves. Okay, because these they have the direct secured support of the Chinese. Okay, now this is in itself a new kind of warfare, and in this kind of warfare we can understand that creating chaos is cheaper than launching missiles. Okay, third and the most important thing, the question here is not whether this is a foreign influence operation. Okay, but essentially the greater question is, why can't or won't America's counterintelligence apparatus has been able to shut it down? Okay, so we can understand that how organized and structured this is, and nobody has yet been able to stop it. Okay, so do let me know what all are your views on this. Okay, so this is not just a conspiracy theory. Okay, this is a congressional FBI record that has showed everything. Okay, so we need to understand, we need to uh, just observe how this propaganda and and an entire nexus of politically destabilizing the governance system in the country is have been working, and how Chinese Communist Party has been supporting each and everything. Clear? So do let me know your views over this in the comment section, and do subscribe to my Telegram channel, and herein I'll share all my annotated PDFs and all the important information regarding the examination preparation. Clear? So this was all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session. Jai Hind.